Thank you, Kimberly, for giving me the opportunity. And I would like to thank the organizers and the ORCID for selecting such theme, ORCID in Action, Connecting African Research Through Technical Integrations. I'm from Mali University, and I'm also working as volunteer at site ambassador, and I'm representing the Mali University ORCID integration team. You can view the website later on. So as an agenda, we will see why we need ORCID integration for academic and research institutions. We will discuss about the Mali University's ORCID integration modalities. We will also discuss about ORCID integration journey, and we will have some call to action at the end. So as you know, there is a strategic alignment. When we are working with ORCID, we are we are implementing UNESCO's Open Science recommendation, and we are implementing Ethiopia Ministry of Education National Open Access Policy, strongly demand the ORCID implementation for researchers, especially for publicly funded research projects. We have also, based on that National Open Access Policy, Mali University introduced make an ORCID as funding requirement and cascaded the national open access policy. We tried as Mali University, I'm also working as research officer, and we tried to create an awareness for our researchers. We can navigate our researchers who with ORCID IDs, but we try to create an awareness by creating some forums. There are lots of responses, but the most important thing is that we are trying to create by leadership support from Mali University Vice President for Research Community. We are trying to create an awareness. The other one is this is also needed for researchers. Every pictures and some important links are already shared, linked. Then after the webinar, you can access it easily for more details. So for repetition or for academic ranking, it's also important. We need to give emphasis for persistent identifier implementation. So to align with those issues, we select 3 platforms. The first thing is where we can integrate ORCID. We select to integrate ORCID in our open journal systems, displays, and for professional, for academics, we implemented in WordPress. As the Ethiopian Data Site Consortium lead, we have the responsibility to fit better metadata standards. As part of this, we are trying to implement in different Mali University institutional research platforms. Second, as Mali University online journals, we have 14 journals, and the 14 journals has its own DOI prefix for our journal. We have also included 3 highly targeted journals into for our it's harvested. We have 1 journal indexed in Web of Science, posted at Agile, and we have our journals are discoverable in DataCite Commons because we can see the impact, the view, the works and citations are already properly setted in our metadata schema from DataCite, and we are working to improve the view and download view. We will update it soon, and I assure you our materials or our scholarly materials are harvested in Google Scholar as well as OpenAlex. Importantly, we also integrate both ORCID, DOI, and especially for journals, we are also integrating ROR. So throughout our journey, first we update Open Journal System to latest version, which is OGS 3.5. It's already modified, and the ORCID plugin is already embedded into core OGS platforms, and it has several functionalities. So to utilize that advantage, we choose 3.5. We apply public API. We have different modalities, public API and member API. We prefer the member API for now. We are applying the public API. So as implementer, we need to set important information first. We need to have a good to keep records for our journals as well as platforms. We need to utilize the ORCID developer tool. Then we need to align with our repository platforms. By doing so, we enabled the open journal system, as well as we can, by registration, we can join into platform. Then we can submit materials. When you register, some informations are easily populated and it saves time. So after joining, after registration, authors can submit their papers, and during submission workflow, we can add metadata records to the publication, as well as at the end of the publication, at production stage, the final ORCID badge will be integrated based on ORCID practices. Therefore, researchers need to authenticate. Therefore, authenticated user is very followed by emails. If they are not authenticated, we will email to the users. So as integration factors, it is already registration based. We implement the default value from OGS PKP. Then we are promoting ORCID adoption, but single sign-on is not enabled for this time, but we are considering to implement by communicating with ORCID support team and PKP communities. Then we want to move from public to member, as I told you earlier. For better advantages, we need to move to member API. We are working to achieve it, and all journals are enabled for ORCID integration. So some difficulties are for single sign-on. We may face some difficulties when we sign in. But therefore, we will focus on solving these issues. And the journals are integrated ROR, ORCID, as well as DOI. Therefore, this is very important to ensure PIDS maturity. Second, for repositories, we are also implementing ORCID for repositories earlier in DSpace 8, now in DSpace 9, and for the future, in short period of time, we will migrate to DSpace 10. And it has very important features. We are trying to enable researcher profile. It is enabled. Researchers can also populate their data into our platforms, into our repository, and it is ORCID based. We are working to implement ORCID based submission for cases as well as dissertation submissions. So it's not. We don't want to limit ORCID for researchers. We also need to focus on early career researchers, such as postgraduates. So to support this, DSpace is best choice. So we are doing so. And after authenticated user can submit to their specific collection, we will set who can submit to a specific department by setting the role. The other one is ORCID is already common in research platforms such as OGS and DSpace, but we can also integrate ORCID for academic websites. For example, we are implementing linked open profile, which is part of round 4 ORCID Global Participation Fund awardee, and we want to, it's open source, and we can apply in Ethiopian context as well as in African context for managing researcher profiles as well as interactions. We also enabled OpenID Connect generic plugin for integration with our websites. For example, the website is developed for volunteer data site ambassador services to advocate for PIDS integration across Ethiopia. Therefore, we enabled the plugin, the and we made some modifications, as well as authenticated users can register and play their role. We can discuss in the future with ORCID and other concerned bodies how we can work with those two platforms in academic platforms. So as driving force, we are the recipient of DataCite Global Access Fund. As part of it, we established Ethiopian DataCite Consortium, and this is the driving factor. From DOI, our eye is already now on ROR and ORCID integration. Therefore, for complete metadata and correctness, we can work with different persistent identifier providers. So in terms of DataCite and ORCID connection, we can use, most of our researchers are not utilizing ORCID as required from our finding. Therefore, interconnectedness among different platforms is very important. DataCite profile is one example, and researchers can sign in, then they can join, they can allow DataCite to populate, to push data to their ORCID. Then researchers can also add their outputs to different platforms, for example, in our case, in institutional repositories. So interconnectedness between DataCite, ORCID, ROR is also very important. I invite you to visit DataCite Commons for multiple discovery purposes. So as our journey, we initiated, as I told you earlier, we initiated through Global Access Fund. It becomes as a motivation, and we conduct how we could implement public API or member API. Then platforms selection performed, we deployed. Then finally, public API is already implemented, but we are seeking to implement member API. And we are working to realize this shared goal. We are working with ORCID to improve the partnership. And it has there are various advantages that we can get from ORCID. Researchers, university, librarian, and global network can gain better advantages, but I want to emphasize for universities and academic researchers to enable ORCID integration for various purposes, including research intelligence as well as reporting. So as call to action, individual researchers need to utilize ORCID to register ORCID and need to add data to the ORCID. Then we promote the use of ORCID in submitting their research works. As research institution, they need to prioritize institutional integration, invest in metadata quality and correctness, support interconnectedness between different platforms, and join open infrastructure communities. In our case, Ethiopia DataCite Consortium, and we are also aspiring for ORCID. The other one is we can collaborate as African, as we can share our best practices. And I would like to say thank you. Please, as a researcher, register, integrate, and lead the ORCID integration at your institutions. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Mike from the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and today before I can tell you what we'll be doing today, I would like to thank the organizers, Kimberly, and everyone who make time to attend this session. It is good so that we can learn from each other. Okay, so today we're going to share with you how we are actually using ORCID to transform research reporting at NUST, which is the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Before I can start, I'll just take you through the outline. We're going to look at the challenges we have currently, or we had, with manual reporting. We're actually looking at reporting, having a dashboard for reporting purposes, and why we decided to build our own solution. That is the second point there. Integration approach we took. The dashboard screens, just a few screenshots of the dashboards of the system we have. Visibility impact, and then the current status and the future direction. Right. So basically, NAST invests approximately 3 to 4 million Namibian dollars internally, which is coming from internal funding annually, and over 30 million Namibian dollars coming from external funding. That will be international funding, things like EU and other partners who are actually funding NAST. So about 3 to 4 million Namibian dollars. That's about, I don't know how much is that converted to US dollars, not really sure. So to justify all these, to say, okay, we need this funding, NAST has to, or for to justify this investment, NAST has to answer key questions, basically, which are what research outputs are being produced, looking at journals versus conference papers, which faculties or researchers are contributing the most, and what is the return on investment. When you're making an investment here, you want to know what is the return on investment and how can we demonstrate impact to stakeholders also. So things like in which areas are researchers publishing, which is very important for the SDGs, for the THE, the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. And historically, this information is collected manually. So this is becoming a problem at NAS. So that's why we decided to come up with a system which can actually give us the reports. Now, currently researchers talking about the manual processing, the manual reporting process, the researchers are required to submit the publication titles and abstracts manually and also indicate where all these papers are published. And also verification is also done manually against NAS accredited publishers list. And this is really difficult because now to get this information also lead to limitations of inaccurate information. So this information was or is consolidated for reporting to the DVC, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research, Innovation and Partnership, and also annual institutional reporting, and also to report or to engage stakeholders with these reports. Now, the challenges of this manual reporting process is that it is time consuming, very easy to make mistakes, errors on this, and very difficult to validate if this information is accurate. Right, so I earlier mentioned a few limitations. So some of them here in the screen are actually underreporting of applications. So this whole manual reporting process was actually leading or causing underreporting of publications and incomplete researcher submissions and inaccurate publication information, delayed reporting to stakeholders and management, significant administration effort also to collect all this or to collect all this information manually. That is very, it's a lot of work. And it limited the visibility of the institution research performance. Now, as a result, obtaining this, a whole picture of how research activities are going on or are progressing is or was very difficult. Now, we get to why did we choose to build our own solution at NAST? Now, here we decided to actually develop this solution internally because number one, we want to utilize the NAST trained talent, the students. And in this project, we are having a student from NAST, so who is also working in this project. So we want to utilize the talent coming from NAST. And also we want to tailor the solution to our reporting needs and also to showcase the institutional capability as a University of Science and Technology. You cannot say that we are a University of Science and Technology and we cannot really come up with our own solutions. And also to reduce one of the most important things, to reduce software licensing costs, because then we'll be developing this internally. And also one of the things, NAST is a member of ORCID, so it is also to optimize the ORCID subscription. Right, so the development of this dashboard is still ongoing. We are still exploring, but this is just an overall summary of the integration approach we are taking. So researchers will be uploading their publication to ORCID, and then the NAS platform is going to connect to ORCID via the API, membership API, extract whatever information we need from ORCID, and then feed that into a dashboard. The dashboard we have currently is actually using Power BI to actually show or to visualize these reports. Right, so these are just a few screenshots of what the current systems, the system looks like. It is still under development. We're still exploring. And as you can see here, we can visualize some of the things here. We can even see from 2023 all the way to 2025 what happened. And it is very good for management or to stakeholders to actually easily see what is going on with the research output at the university. Okay, so this is one of the dashboards. We can actually see how many total publications affiliated to NAST and how many total authors we have. And we can also view how each faculty is performing. So we can actually drill this and actually view this report according to how each faculty, to see how each faculty is performing or how each researcher is performing. All right, so visibility and impact. The good thing is the senior leadership at NAST has embraced ORCID. The DVC the DVC's ORCID profile is also fully populated, and there is an ongoing institutional campaign for all staff to have an up-to-date ORCID profile. And one of the things which the university is looking at is actually to have each staff member to have their ORCID ID as part of their email or signature. All right, so as I said, we are still, this is still under development. And the benefits we are expecting from this is better institutional visibility, improved web metrics, and stronger support for university rankings. All right. Now, the current focus, what we are currently looking at is to enhance reporting dashboards for better analytics and insights, and also to have a dashboard which can actually easily, the management can just go in there and just look at the performance of each faculty, and also to improve automated reporting workflows. All right, so that's all from me, and thank you for listening.
So hello everyone, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Asma Sakot. I'm a data and knowledge engineer at the National Center for Scientific and Technical Research in Morocco. So today, I'm very pleased to be here to share our experience integrating ORCID into Moroccan research platforms. First, let me briefly introduce the CNRSC and the project itself. So the CNRSC is Morocco's national institution for supporting scientific research and improving for supporting scientific research and innovation. In addition to funding research, the CNRSC also manages several national scientific platforms and infrastructures for the research community. One of our priorities is improving the visibility and traceability of Moroccan research output. And this is exactly where ORCID plays an important role. So in 2025, the CNRSC received support through the 5th cycle of the ORCID Global Participation Fund. The project focused on integrating ORCID into 3 main national platforms. That's why the project was divided into 2 components. The first component was the integration of ORCID into PRSM, the portal of Moroccan scientific journals. which is based on OGS, and I will be presenting this part. The second component is the integration of ORCID into Tubqal and Utruhati based on the space, which will be presented by my colleague Nordin Sgher. So for those who may not know PRSM, it's a portal of Moroccan scientific journals and the country's first electronic publishing platforms dedicated to Moroccan scientific journals. Today, the platform hosts more than 280 journals from different scientific disciplines and provides services such as DOI assignment, editorial support, and training for journals editor. So from the beginning, we approached this project through three main dimensions. The first was the technical dimensions, including the platform upgrade and the ORCID integration itself. Second, focused on the community engagement through webinars, workshops, and awareness activities. And the third dimension focused on international collaboration and visibility. Let's move to the technical integration. So the first challenge we faced was platform compatibility. For integrating ORCID, we first needed to migrate PRSM from OGS version 2 to OGS version 3. This was not just a software upgrade, it was also involved redesigning hosted journals, updating banners, correcting translation, and improving the overall platform structure. Once the migration was completed, we reviewed the PKP and ORCID documentation, tested different configurations, and then requested access to the ORCID Sandbox API, which we successfully tested on the platform. After that, we needed the member API production. That's why the CNRST joined the ASLIN ORCID Consortium, which allowed us to obtain the ORCID member API credentials. And the fourth step is the integration of ORCID, but because PRSM hosts more than 280 journals, it wasn't feasible to configure them individually. So we implemented a site-wide setup approach to handle all of them more efficiently. And you can find more information about this approach in the PKP documentation. And the final step was to activate an ORCID into all hosted journal. But this approach did not do the steps. So to simplify the deployment, we also developed a database script that automatically activates the ORCID configuration across all journals hosted on the platform. I will now leave you with a short demonstration showing how authors can connect their ORCID ID to their profile within journals hosted in PRSM.
Welcome to this tutorial on connecting your ORCID ID to your account on the Moroccan Scientific Journals portal. To begin, visit PRSM and select one of the hosted journals. If you are new to the platform, click Register in the top right corner. Otherwise, click Login and enter your credentials to access your author dashboard. Once you are logged in, click on your username in the top right corner and select View Profile. This is your personal dashboard where you can manage your account details. Next, switch over to the Public tab. Scroll down until you see the ORCID section, and click the green button that says Create or Connect your ORCID ID. A secure window will pop up. Simply log in using your ORCID email and password to authorize the connection. After authorizing, you will be redirected back to the journal site. You will see that your unique ORCID ID is now automatically fetched and linked. And you're all set. From now on, any paper you publish in PRSM-hosted journals will display the green ORCID icon right next to your name. As visualized here, you can see that the authors have linked their ORCID ID to their account, which is why it is displayed next to the ORCID icon. And if I click on it, it will send me to the author's ORCID record. When I scroll down, I can see her publication with all the details and with a DOI assigned to the publication, showing the source as the PRSM portal. Thank you for following this guide. Welcome to this tutorial on.
So as we just saw in the demonstration video, the integration introduced several practical features across our platform. Researchers can sign in or register using their ORCID ID, connect their identifier directly during articles or article submission, and automatically retrieve verified author information from ORCID record. So the integration also improves metadata quality, enables better synchronization of researcher, and strengthen interoperability with international scholarly systems. And overall, these features help simplify workflows for researchers while improving the visibility and discoverability of Moroccan research outputs. But beyond the technical integration, we also understood that awareness and community engagement were essential. For this reason, we organized several webinars and workshops around ORCID. One important activity was an ORCID awareness webinar organized in partnership with ORCID and led by Nabil Qsebi, engagement lead at ORCID. Another one was it was about a training workshop, and we integrated ORCID awareness into those sessions for journals editors. In addition, the CNRST organized 2 in-person ORCID workshops, one for university representatives and research institutions, and another one dedicated directly to researchers. And finally, we also published awareness materials on social media, including infographics and educational videos explaining the importance of ORCID for researchers. And the third dimension is the international collaboration and visibility. It was another important aspect of this project. So that by the ASRAN ORCID Consortium and the participation in Open Science Research Integrity events, we were able to exchange experiences with institutions across Africa and benefit from valuable technical collaboration. So before finishing, I would like to recognize the team behind the project. The first project, which is the integration of ORCID in PRSM, thanks to Fidwel Magiri, head of the MS division, and Rashid Aisi, head of the MS of the Information System division, and myself as the third member. Thank you very much. I will now hand over to my colleague Nordin Sgher, who will present the second component of the project.
Thank you. Let's start again. My name is Nordin Sgher. I am head development in this project. So let's put some context in this. Let's put some context in this project. We operate 2 national platforms: TOPQAL, the repository of defended PhD theses, and Otrohati, the registry of theses still in preparation. Both went through the same modernization, migration, and upgraded to this Space 9.1. 3 languages: French, Arabic, English, with full left to right and right to left support. A thesis specific workflow and ORCID ready. Now, why ORCID? In our context, researcher identity is a structural problem. The same researcher can appear in Latin script and Arabic translation, sometimes 3 or 4 different spelling. Their works is scattered across system. Manual disambiguation doesn't scale. ORCID give us one persistent international machine-readable identifier and connects our platform to the global research ecosystem. So concretely, here is the use case inside TOPQAL. One, the researcher authenticates with their ORCID ID through authentication directly from TopCal interface. Second, we pre-fill metadata from the ORCID record, the name, affiliation. Three, the thesis record stores the ORCID as persistent author identifier, not just text. Four, the work becomes discoverable globally through the research ORCID's profile. So the three actors benefits. The doctoral students submit once, reliably. The repository staff has less manual cleanup, and external system can now machine link to TopCal records. So let me show you how it actually works. This is a short record demo on TopCal, and Otrohati uses exactly the same flow. So you start the TopCal homepage and click sign in with the ORCID. You are redirected to ORCID's authentication. You authorize TopCal. I will wait until the authorization. So the platform asks for a verification email. The email is sent and you have to confirm it. And you are signed in. And your ORCID ID is now linked to your profile. So we will talk how we did we build this. We do this through 5 phases. Phase 1 assessment, to edited the legacy TopCal on this space 17 and defined the new model. Phase 2 a foundation, we stood up this space 9.1, the terms, the multilingual basis, and phase 3 the customization based on this the customization, the thesis workflow, the metadata, and what we call our synastry overlay. And number 4, it was the ORCID phases. We configured and activated through the identification and authority control. And the phase 5 is the migration and quality assurance and institutional rollout. So the resultant system have value for researcher and for the institution. For the researcher, there is one persistent identity across Latin, Arabic names and variants. There is less administrative friction. The metadata are pre-filled, so fewer duplicate forms during submission. We have also a global visibility. The records become discoverable through international ORCID-aware tools. And finally, we have the trust by the verified authorship. An ORCID-linked record is unambiguous, machine-readable, and trusted. The value for the institution, the seniority, and the national ecosystem. Before, we have researcher names entered as free text, same author appearing under several spellings, manual cleanup by repository staff. There was no automatic link with external systems, and reporting on national outputs is fragile. Now, with ORCID integration, the researchers are identified by a persistent ID. There is a unified authorship cross-submission, so there is less administrative cleanup and faster validation. And now TOPCAL is interoperable with global research ecosystem, and we can expect more reliable reporting on national scientific outputs. What we have learned through this journey is, one, we don't integrate ORCID alone. ORCID lands best when the repository foundation, but metadata model and workflow are already in good shape. Plan it as a part of broader modernization. The number 2 lesson is we have to build on standards. The choice of this space was crucial because this has a native ORCID support that gives us 80% of the work for free. We configure it first, only customize where institutional needs really require it. And the third lesson is that for our case, and for all the many institutions, the multilingual identity is real. In our context, the same researcher can exist in record in Latin and Arabic. ORCID give us a single neutral identifier that survive transliteration variants. And finally, we have to make this change visible to the researcher. So the adoption of the adequate user experience, a clear sign-in with ORCID offered an visible ID on author page, drive uptake more than internal advocacy. What comes next for this project? The first step we should extend the adoption into the phase of pushing to ORCID records. We should move from read-only consumption to writing thesis record back into researchers' ORCID profiles. Our second ambition is enrich and with more aware ORCID-aware metadata like affiliation, doctoral schools, advisors, and to surface them consistently inside TOPCAL. Our next objective is the automation of some repetitive tasks. For example, the verification of ORCID ID ownership at submission and on bulk imports. And finally, we hope to share our work with other institutions, specifically some our partners from Africa. This project was a team product. The 3 divisions from CNRST worked together to put it in existence. The information system division with Rashid Aisi as head of the division, Sue Said HLL, and myself, and our colleagues from EMIS with Fadwa Magirin of Dintayiq, Nadia Al-Hor, Hasiba Al-Marabit. Finally, the communication staff with Uthman Afifi, who helped with the graphical interfaces. We will welcome your question and comments and ideas. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nardine and Thank you to all of our presenters. So for today, I invite you all to join us now on screen for the Q&A. And, I invite our audience to take a moment to consider your questions and submit them. As you're thinking, I am going to launch another poll just to see where everybody's thoughts are after hearing from our speakers. And then I'm also going to share some links in the chat with you all. So the first link is something to check out for later. It's our first session that we ran in this ORCID in Action featuring Africa series. The second one is our upcoming session, which is going to be connecting Asian research on 30th of June. I've also included a link to learn more about the ORCID Global Participation Fund, which you've heard a few of our speakers discuss. And then from Tekwani, I've shared a link that he thinks may be helpful for the Ethiopian youth use case. So as you all are answering the poll questions, we have a very basic but important question that I'll ask to Asma and Nordine. Can you tell us what is CNRST? Can you just help us understand what the acronym is and maybe just a little bit more about your institution?
Yes, of course. As I presented, the CNRST is the National Center for Scientific and Technical Research. It's a national operated dedicated to the promotion and development and enhancement of scientific and technical research in Morocco. So also the CNRST supports various research projects, provide grants for researchers and facilitate collaboration between researchers and research institutions in Morocco and abroad.
Great, thank you for that.
And I can add that we provide national-wide platforms like the TASES platforms, as we presented, the Atrohati and the Topkal TASES. They are platform where all students from Morocco put their theses. All theses published in Morocco are available. So we have a source of platforms for federations, like in PRSM for the scientific review, and Otrohati for example, the thesis, and other platforms for cooperation. We can federate the research across universities in Morocco.
Excellent. Thank you for that additional context. Our next question is for all of our speakers. So for all of you who are comfortable, if you want to turn your cameras on, and we'll get to the next question. It is one that was asked during the Q&A, and Tekwani, you provided an answer, but I think it'd be great if we could share it with everyone on the call. But essentially, the question is, there seems to be a low awareness of ORCID at my institution and its benefits. As library and librarians, we have continued to educate and create awareness, but I want to ask if there are existing ORCID programs to create meaningful awareness on our campus. And secondly, our faculty is about to launch its faculty journal. How do we do our journal with ORCID? So what, I think, Asma, you talked a lot about your awareness campaigns that you all do. Could you tell us a little bit more about those webinars, or how you come up with ideas, or the scheduling behind them to spread awareness at your institution?
The question is to me.
Yes, please.
So we come with the idea because the first step we consider when we start the project, we think about the technical integration, but the human part is also as important as the technical side. So we make sure to organize more awareness sessions to researchers, and they contain the basic how can I say, the basic content, like what is the ORCID, what's the ORCID ID, what is the benefits of using it. And we also organize some webinars in partnership with ORCID, and they were organized by Nabil Ksibi, the engagement lead at ORCID. And some members also participate in some conferences and events just to share the contents of open science and research integrity. And the one thing I would like to highlight is to the integration of ORCID awareness into existing training activities, not rather than presenting it in a separate initiative. For example, ORCID can naturally be introduced during workshops or published in repositories or journal management. That would make it easier for researchers to just simplify the concept.
Great, thank you. Would any of our other speakers like to add a bit about how they spread awareness about ORCID on at their institution? Tekloeni gave a very nice response. If you'd like to elaborate on that.
Okay, if I'm allowed, I can elaborate. Okay, thank you. Just in the question and answering session, I tried to answer. But at initial level, for example, I'm a research officer at Maghreb University, as I told you earlier. I'm also volunteer data science ambassador. Therefore, we have lots of opportunities. We deliver research data management training nationally in December 2025. RDM training is one important aspect. We can also we can reuse resources. For example, my better resources are from ORCID community, as you know. There is ORCID 101. Therefore, if you have such tools, we can create an awareness to researchers as well as postgraduate students. Therefore, this is one mechanism. As my friend from Morocco share resources in multilingual way. Therefore, we can also use open access week, for example. We can utilize an open access week. Such events are very helpful, and we need to make great engagement with leadership. Without leadership support, it is difficult to implement technical integration as well as improve ORCID adoption globally. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing up Open Access Week as well. I'm going to share a link to that in the chat. If you're unfamiliar, Open Access Week is an international event. Excuse me, it takes place 1 week in October. It's usually about the 3rd week of October. And it's where a lot of institutions, PID providers like ORCID, everybody within the scholarly ecosystem just takes some time to celebrate open access and spread awareness. So I've shared a link to that in the chat. We hope to do some events around there. And, as both Tekloeni and Esme have shared, ORCID is always happy to collaborate with you, especially on webinars, or, we have some outreach materials that I'll grab a link to as well. That I can share. My next question for all of you is, I think in every single one of your presentations, you all mentioned global visibility. Can you just share a little bit more about how you feel ORCID integrations tangibly improve the global visibility and discoverability of research emerging specifically, from your institutions and from Africa? Would anyone like to take that one first?
Yeah, I will take it first.
Thank you.
I think the global, I think ORCID plays a very important role in making African research more visible internationally, because it helps connect researchers and publications, institutions, and data sets in a standardized way. So in many cases, African researchers face issues related to the name ambiguity, inconsistent affiliation, and fragmented publication records. So ORCID helps solve parts of this problem by providing persistent digital identifier linked to their scholarly activities. But beyond identifiers, we also need stronger open science infrastructures better metadata quality, institutional repositories, and sustainable funding, and more international collaboration. Because I think equity in global research is not only about visibility, but it's also about inclusion in decision making and in the representation within global scholarly systems.
Yes, I definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to inclusion. That really.
Let me add some points, please. So I can add also that the fact that ORCID is a number, is the data discoverable by machines, by search engines. So, and it will help for more consistency in the search engines, and in our in this AI era, it will help also the AI system to discover and consistently the research and the identity of the researcher, if they have a unique identifier, and this identifier is not a name with in different languages and with different typing, etc. So it will also help in the use by AI systems of those research results.
Great, thank you for that extra context. Do any of our other speakers want to add a thought about global visibility? Okay, moving on to our next question. I noticed in our first poll, we have quite a few beginners with ORCID joining us today. So for our speakers, do you have any advice for institutions that are just getting started, like any practical first steps you'd recommend when it comes to integrating with ORCID? Are there any immediate challenges or quick wins folks should be prepared for?
Yes, I will
Go
give.
ahead.
I am technical. I am a developer engineer, so I give technical types. So
Great.
starts by playing with the SDK, the app, SDK API from ORCID. But start by testing things by with the great is the development platform that's given by ORCID, and test the possibilities that ORCID gives you. So to help you first identify the problems that you have with your systems, to integrate with the ORCID, and finally you have to in our experience, the membership is very important. It gives you a full use of the ORCID possibilities.
Great, thank you for that. Would anybody like to add anything?
I may add one point is that I think the first step is really understanding your existing infrastructures, because before starting the technical integration, you need to know which platform version you're using, whether your system are compatible with ORCID plugin, or what kind of workflows already exist for researchers and librarians. And for example, for us, one of the biggest first step was upgrading the Pearson portal based on OGS, and also the Subqalam Truhati platform, thesis platform. The main biggest step was the upgrade of this platform, just to make sure that they are compatible with the ORCID plugin.
Good to know. Teklawini, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move on to Paloma?
Okay, thank you. I will not add. I will not try to repeat. As my colleagues said, we can focus also on interaction with ORCID support team. So there is a support page or Zendesk platform. Therefore, ORCID support is very, very important. We can share our experience in GitHub as well as in PKP community, for example. Then we can get more clarity. As a result, first we face a problem on the space 8. Later on, it's solved. Then we also integrated in the space 8 as well as in the space 9 later on after communication with ORCID support team. Therefore, collaborating with ORCID support team as well as ORCID community engagement team is very, very critical, and proper documentation is vital. Without documentation, you will lose everything. Therefore, as a technical expert, we need to prepare well documentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Paloma?
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly, and thank you, everybody. So if just to add and summarize what the participants have mentioned, indeed, if the system, as Asma was mentioned, upgrades to a version that supports ORCID, in this case, for example, for all of you using repositories, that would be DSpace repository, to be correct, that will be versions as of 7.3, but of course, newest versions, as we've seen in the call with Michele University in version 9, even 10, and also with CNRST with version 9.1, this will allow you to have already some ORCID capabilities built there, and this facilitates every single integration. The same applies for OGS, which we have also seen in the call, and Mike hasn't mentioned that from Namibia University of Technology, but they also have an OGS integration in place. So there, this idea of systems that are ready and even they are certified under ORCID criteria facilitates also adoption, either using the public or the member API, as we've seen in the different presentations.
Thank you, Paloma. Tekwani, did you have anything to add? Perhaps not. That's okay. I see we've got another question in the chat, but instead of a question, it's more of a comment that if you have any opinions on, I'm happy to hear it. But someone is suggesting that the integration between ORCID, DOI, and ROR play a significant role in encouraging researcher adoption of ORCID by demonstrating how publications and data sets with DOIs can automatically connect to ORCID records, and how institutional affiliations can be linked through ROR. Researchers quickly recognize the benefits of increased visibility, discoverability, and recognition across the global research ecosystem. So that's a very great point, and thank you for sharing it with us. Anybody want to add anything or share any thoughts there? All right. I think, Paloma, someone has a question for you. When you say, do you mean that every institution needs to have a separate ORCID platform, or is it in line with the global ORCID platform?
Let me rephrase the sentence or the question just to make sure that I am understanding correctly. So there is the ORCID registry, and then each organization can have, particularly academic institutions, we are focusing more on academic institutions in this conversation. They can have a repository, they can have a journal platform, they can have a research information management system. Those are separate platforms that are initially unrelated to ORCID and serve to store the metadata of current research happening, publications, research outputs in general, etc. So institutions can connect those with ORCID using the ORCID API. But this doesn't mean that each institution needs to have like separate platforms. In fact, the idea is that ORCID API will serve as a bridge so that the information that is on the institutional end goes to the ORCID registry and the other way around. And when I speak of information in this context, I mean metadata related to the researcher in this case, either their affiliations or their outputs or even their funding items or projects they participated in, peer reviews if we are thinking of a journal, or editorships, etc. So the metadata about all those activities.
Thanks, Paloma. I think that helps clear it up. I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment. So I just want to take an opportunity to thank all of our speakers for joining us today and for your excellent presentations. For our audience, look out for those presentations and the recording of this session in your email over the next few days. And yeah, again, thank you to our speakers and thank you to everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.